Hey, this is Kirk Hilliard.
And this is Rusty Bird, it's the Kirk and Bird Show, and we've got some Hokie legends here today. They're going to break down NIL from a different perspective than what you've seen before. Very blessed to have with us today Brenden Hill. He's from the 757, played at Warwick, played at Virginia Tech. Now he's out at San Diego State University, and he's the NIL coordinator there. Welcome to the show, Brenden.
Appreciate y'all having me.
Oh yeah, he's the man. We'll get into a little bit of his past and growing up in the 757 once we get NIL stuff out the way. And then we're blessed to have Kevin Jones. He's originally from the Philadelphia area, #1 high school player in the nation, played at Virginia Tech, All-American, first-round draft choice, the Detroit Lions, played in the league for a number of years, Pro Bowler, and now he's back at Virginia Tech working out with the whole NIL thing. And he's going to give us that perspective for a lot of us right here, Virginia Tech fans. He's going to break it down, but he's going to tell about his role, and we're going to all learn a whole lot about this. And they've got that big T on their hat and shirt, and they'll explain a little bit to us about Triumph. But again, welcome to the show, Kevin.
Oh, thank you so much for having us.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, my co-host, Kirk Hilliard, three-sport athlete at Phoebus High School. Yeah. All right, Kirk, why don't you tell folks where they can find us?
But you can, our podcast, YouTube, there's other platforms, but if you Google us, The Kirk and Bird Show, and then please follow us on Twitter. We got a lot of players following us on Twitter, at The Kirk and Bird. We're The Kirk and Bird on Instagram. We're making a huge Instagram push. A lot of you players, parents, you'll see us connecting with you.
The kids ain't on Facebook, Kirk. We found that out like maybe 10
kids
years ago.
Are on Instagram.
Their parents are up there. Their parents are our friends like crazy, but we got to get on the TikTok and all that.
We're the Kirk and Bird on TikTok.
The kids are on there from the 80s and 90s.
Yes, you're right. That's right. The kids from the 80s and 90s.
I watched a bunch of y'all's podcasts. Kevin, I watched the podcast that you're on. And Brenden, I've watched some stuff, and we've talked before. We want to start basic, but we're going to be a little bit different because you guys are intricately involved with Triumph, which is one of the collectives for Virginia Tech, and we're going to talk about collectives. But from a basic start, why don't we? There's a lot of folks that still don't know an NIL name, image, and likeness. It's very new. So let's start off with you, Brenden. I know you've been a big brand ambassador. You've done a lot of work with athletes and things like that. But, at a high basic level, talk about NIL and what are the basics? And then from there, we got many great questions for both of you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having us once again. So I do this every day. I have these conversations with families and student athletes every day, but NIL essentially has to do with everyone's right of publicity. So everybody on this call, on this podcast right now has a name, an image, and a likeness. My kids have a name, image, and likeness. My mother, my brother, my cousins, my aunts, they all have a name, image, and likeness. And essentially, no one can monetize anyone's name, image, and likeness without their permission, right? So that's what NIL fundamentally is we all own our name, our image, and our likeness, and who can monetize it without our permission. So, but unfortunately, as with anything else, people distort it, take it and turn it into something that is not. But in the sports context, in 2021, the NCAA passed a ruling due to a lot of obviously political pressure and different things like that, lawsuits that allowed students to instantly be able to benefit off their name, image, and likeness. When Kevin and I played, mainly Kevin, there was a ton of 25 jerseys, 7 jerseys in the stands, and Kevin wasn't able to receive any money or benefit from that financially. Right. Nowadays, since 2021, student athletes can receive money from their jersey sales. They can do endorsements, appearances, and all that kind of stuff. So that's fundamentally what NIL is.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Now, I do want to ask, so for those who, I'm going to break it down on a more basic level.
Sure.
If I was going to the Virginia Tech bookstore and I saw a Virginia Tech jersey, no name on the back, okay, and it had number 7.
That's a great question.
What did that mean if I went and we knew at this point it wasn't Michael Vick, it was Kevin Jones, and I took that jersey and I bought it. How much money did you get for that, Kevin?
I'll jump into that. So specifically, and this is even more to what Brenden said. When I came to Virginia Tech as top recruit, I wanted to wear 7 because I wanted that action. You know what I'm saying? Of like what Vic had already established. I wanted to continue that tradition. So whether it was going to me or going to Michael Vick, it wasn't going to either one of us. So if you had a fan that was wearing number 7, that money wasn't going to either one of us because at the time it was illegal. The school was, and it wasn't just Virginia Tech. So I don't want to say school as Virginia Tech. I'm saying all of college football, all of college sports was not sharing revenue with athletes. So that was the whole reason for the lawsuit and why we kind of got into this whole NIL like argument or debate. Also playing video games.
I was going to say
video games. You got Michael Vick, or you got the quarterback wearing number 7, and it's black, and it looks everything like him. And he's 99% running down the field, outrunning everybody. And then I'm at running back or whatever it may be. None of that was compensation for anybody. So it was when people talk about NIL as the Wild Wild West. Like it was Wild Wild West before it was the Wild Wild West.
Right.
Yeah.
But for clarification though, that is a Virginia Tech jersey, and Virginia Tech owns that, and they're going to get the profit. That can't change. Now, if they put Vic or Jones on there, that's different. Am I correct about that?
No, I mean you're correct from the old ways of how it was done, meaning like it was a Virginia Tech jersey. It didn't have a name on it, but when NIL is not just name, it's image and likeness. That was the whole point, right?
Right.
The image standpoint of you click into the video game when you playing the college game, and you say you want to change the quarterback, and you go from number 7 to number 4, which is Brian Randall, or number 5, Marcus Vick. The face looks like the player that it's supposed to be, even though it don't have the name on it. It says number 5, and it don't say Vic or it don't say Marcus, but you know who that is. And then the attributes, the likeness, the attributes are also being, played upon. So it was one of these things. It's like these are duh moments in a way where it's like you're using this. And it's not Virginia Tech. Brand Virginia Tech. It's how college sports was going at the moment, at that time. So the whole idea is like, how could we change that? How could we advance the game, advance the sport? And that's why NIL exists today, for a lot of those reasons, because a lot of people are left out. You got billions of dollars being made, like, and and it's off the backs of some of the athletes, also the university. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the university doesn't deserve anything. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that, that we need to do a rev share with the athletes as well.
You talk about the Wild Wild West, okay? So it was against the rules for athletes to receive any compensation. Everybody knows that. Brenden and I were talking about this. I'm driving home from work. For older guys like us, it's like muscle memory. We are just used to, okay, if college athletes accept anything, it's cheating. Or it's breaking the rules or whatever. But those rules have been changed. And that's what name, image, and likeness is about. And the fact that it's a multi-billion-dollar business, and there's lots of money floating around. And we talk about the universities, but we also talk about what about the companies? What about the companies selling cars, pizzas, beer, all of these different things that are making money off the backs of
Kevin, wait a minute, hold it. But weren't you really just satisfied with the free education?
Me?
I'm just messing with you, bro. I'm just
to be honest, I think a lot of athletes get a bad rap and their families get a bad rap.
Man, he's got like 3 graduate degrees, man. Come on.
Yeah, I do. I
know you do.
They weren't all paid by Virginia Tech, but the point behind it is that athletes get a bad rap for saying or speaking up about NIL. They also one of the things that before NIL came, it was like we got to sell the idea of coming to Virginia Tech, playing in the stadium at Lane Stadium, playing under Coach Beamer. This is where Michael Vick went, Corey Moore, saying all these people who have done it before us have paved the way for some of the things that are happening now. But the Virginia Tech education has always been the selling point. So we're not going to sit here and act like that. That's always been top tier. Engineering school, Virginia Tech, like one of the top schools in the state. That's always been a selling point for Virginia Tech. And that continues to be a selling point for Virginia Tech. But now we're also able to talk about NIL because that's like the latest and greatest thing. It's almost like technology or Bitcoin, something like that. You know what I mean? Something you can't ignore. It's something that parents want to know about. Right. Players want to know about this. Something that the coach thinks about every day. So it's a part of the jargon now. So people just need to realize that like it's a part of the total picture. And it's something that you should be excited about and also be thinking like, okay, this is what it used to be about facilities and all these things. But now it's also about investing in my future, investing in my family future. So there's a spin on it that needs to be talked about that I think is left out. And the education piece is still very much up there. It's just that NIL is also a part of that list now.
But everybody thinks Ed O'Bannon, and Ed O'Bannon started this whole thing. But a kid from Phoebus High School, Sean Alston, who went to West Virginia, was the plaintiff in the case. And that's the suit that was ruled in 2021. So we've had about 2.5 years. So Brenden, you've been very integral. So let's get everybody up to date we know there's going to be a lot of changes coming Wild Wild West. Everybody says that, but where are things now?
Not only integral, let me interject here, not only integral, but also a founding member. So Brenden is the one who brought me on board. He came and I just wanted to put that out there.
So Kevin, I already asked him if he got a piece of the company. We talked about
the long way. What Kirk is trying to say is we want to know about Triumph, but also what do you guys do on a daily basis, and explain that. Like, and what does it mean at the institutions that you are at? So, Brenden, you can start.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So, like Kevin said, I was one of the founding partners of Triumph, and I'm currently not employed by Triumph. I don't own any stock in Triumph currently, but it's in my blood because it's a baby that I was a part of building and contributing. So, and I'm a Virginia Tech alum, right? So every time they win and every time they do something well, I wear, this T on my chest with a sense of pride because
you weren't fired for one. So
no, I was not fired.
Let's let everybody know that, there was an exit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So what happened with me is, so we started Triumph. So what happened, I'll give you guys the origination story. One of our partners, Jim Cowan, he's a prominent lawyer in Blacksburg. I've known Jim, Kevin and I have known Jim for a long time, since we were student athletes. And Jim reached out off of a tweet that I made related to NIL and said, hey, Brenden, I know you have some background in this type of stuff. So when I got done playing at Virginia Tech, I wasn't fortunate enough to go pro, but I worked with some of my former teammates with their branding and their marketing. So D Hall, Michael Vick, Macho Harris, Tyrod Taylor, all those guys, I kind of helped them with their brand. And then, so fast forward, Jim knows I have a background in it. He's like, hey, this NIL thing is taking off. There's a lot of businesses in Blacksburg who love Virginia Tech. They don't know where to start. They don't know what to do. So Jim and I have a call. Then I loop in a guy named Doug Hicks. Doug is a longtime marketing guy. He worked for DC United. I've known Doug for a long time. He worked for the Washington Bullets when they were still the Bullets back in the day. He's from Blacksburg, loves Virginia Tech, didn't go to Virginia Tech, but he loves Virginia Tech. His family still lives there to this day. So fast forward, a lot of people this is where my mind works. I knew we needed a creative to be successful in NIL. It's creative, right? It's logos, it's design, it's graphics, it's visual, it's storytelling. And I knew the right person to call that encompassed all that, who also played the game at a high level, loved Virginia Tech like I love Virginia Tech, stood for a lot of the things that I stand for, right? So I reached out to Kevin and looped him in, his company, Joba Design, and Kevin's a multifaceted designer himself and visionary. I let him brag on himself a little bit, but Joba was, the integral piece. If we wouldn't have been able to, and the funny story is there was another collective that was trying to get Kevin involved with them and trying to get Joba involved with them, and had Kevin and I not had that brotherhood and that rapport, I don't know if Triumph is here today. But I'll turn it over to Kevin and let him talk about maybe more about how he felt about getting involved and what Triumph does on the day-to-day currently. So
yeah, so I guess a little bit about me. Before we decided to do Triumph, I was working in a multidisciplinary design and marketing studio, which I run with myself and then my wife. And Brenden, me and Brenden had reconnected after ball a little bit and started kind of being in the same space. So he was working also for the Wizards and doing a lot of things in sports, and we just found a common ground in like the creativity side of it and also marketing and communications. So he reached out to me and was like, hey, you want to be involved in this? And a little while back I was like, it'd be cool if we did something like this, but we were busy in our studio. But when Brenden reached out, it was more of a familiar voice and somebody who I respect in the spaces that he was in. And I was like, yo, now that you saying it, it's kind of like, if I don't have to do it by myself, if I have a brother in this, then somebody I trust from the locker room, then I might, I don't want to be just hired as a contracted worker. I'm like, we need to partner up and really go after this, because we can make a lot of impact on the athletes, the young men that are Virginia Tech, not even just young men, but young men and women from the other sports as well. Because it's not just a football thing. It's like the entirety of Virginia Tech athletics.
Yep.
So Brenden basically, I'm not gonna say he talked me into it, but he gave me the selling points, and trusting him and knowing his background and where he's at in his life and career, I was like, yo, let's do it. And it kind of was that. It wasn't really too many conversations about convincing. Maybe we had 2 conversations about like we should do it, and then it was on after that, and that's kind of where we are. So Brenden kind of spoke about that, but the angle that I think that he was getting at as me as a designer now in my post-football career and a communicator, we come at NIL from a different perspective. It's not just like, we don't even call ourselves a collective. Like other people call us that, but we talk being communicated, like communication and design, so that we're really diving into the brand of athletes, their background, helping them create a logo. So it's not just about, let me get this bag. It's about a holistic approach to their literal name, image, and likeness. So that's what we do that's different. That's how we differentiate ourselves from other companies / collectives that are out there, other schools. That's why we're where we are as far as being ranked. We're, Sports Business Journal ranked us top 5. So
wow.
I think we're number 1. Brenden is a part of that. So we're just trying to go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, speaking of logos, man, that T that you alluded to, that's Kevin's, design. He came up with that branding, and I think, the branding and the how do you say it, Kevin? Iconography. That's just as important. And what we set out to do was we wanted to build a brand that could stand next to that VT brand and be just as strong as that VT brand in this space.
Support, you got a lot of, we wanted to, like what he's saying is we looked at the T as, we're not going to say just as important, but just as important from an outsider looking in. We got athletes and their parents.
Right.
When we see it, we want them to think, oh, trust, or we can drop our kids off at this place. They're going to make sure that there's opportunity available. They're not just this other number, like all these different aspects that we try to create, mentorship, all these things. Like, it means a lot to us.
I do have a question. Oh, go ahead.
And I was just gonna say, and to me, it's intimidating, right? Like you see this black and this T, and we come from the era of Virginia.
Yeah.
He's saying Virginia Tech football in the early 2000s, 99,
Oh yeah.
late 90s,
yeah.
early 2000s, mid 2000s, where we had a reputation for physical football, talented players from Virginia that's going to go up against the number ones like Miami, Florida State, and all these schools. We're going to compete. We're going to compete on every weekend. So that's what we're trying to get back to.
And for those out there who okay, I know name, image, likeness. I understand that, and I know it's different. But what can you define for us collective? Because I don't. Some people may not not understand what a collective is.
Right, Rusty, that's perfect. But I wanted to ask one question. I was going to say, hey, if we're a prospective athlete, right, and we've got a lot of the high school players in Virginia, why don't you guys give us a 90 to 120 second elevator pitch on what folks are doing, what you do? But Rusty had this question. I had this question too. Is it just Virginia Tech? Can you guys represent James Madison, Richmond, Washington Elite? How does that work?
You want me to take that, B, or you?
Yeah, I mean, you can take it. I feel like you do it more than I do now.
I was throwing a curveball.
Okay, that's funny. So Triumph NIL right now is what other people call a collective at Virginia Tech.
Okay.
We call it a sports marketing communications firm slash design studio, because we're looking at the holistic approach to athletes and their name and image and likeness. We're not we're just collecting money to hand you the money. First of all, that's illegal. Second of all, so for every dollar that an athlete at Virginia Tech receives, they're compensated for work that they're doing. So there's always scope of works. So it's related to the Hokie Way, which is another like a 501c3 foundation at Virginia Tech. So a lot of the work that is done by athletes is paired with the foundation or a charitable foundation. So most of our athletes, if not all of our athletes, are doing charitable work, and they get paid for their services and their time. So it's not like you just come to Virginia Tech and you just get a bag of money. That don't work that way. The other piece about it is we're going to build your brand from a marketing standpoint. So there might be a logo, there might be you going to appearances, autograph sessions. The other thing that's I would say a gem that we have is our platform. So our platform is Triumph NIL.
Yeah.
Our platform is triumphnil.com. So if you go to that platform and you click on an athlete, you'll see that there's basically a content engine behind each athlete. So if you click on Kevin Jones, or not Kevin Jones, let's say Kyron Drones, our quarterback. You click on him, and you go within his, you kind of go within his world that's in the platform, and you see the things that he offers. That might be autograph session, that might be meet and greet, digital meet and greet, there might be a shout out for somebody's birthday, there might be a podcast, or there might be merchandise that he's selling with his name, image, and likeness. So our goal is for each athlete to have those things. So, and it's not just, like I said, it's not just football, it's not just a quarterback, it's your women's basketball player or tennis or golf or whatever that may be.
So it's not just the revenue sports. It's not just the revenue sports.
No. It's every sport.
Anything in athletics.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, I was just going to ask you may be leading in this, what about fans, businesses, and specifically, all state universities have a family of car dealers, right? UVA has people down the 757. Tech has, the motor mile and all this, but those are companies that could hire an athlete to pitch things or whatever. That's pretty simple. So talk about how fans and businesses can get involved. But on top of that, what about national corporations? Because I know Mercedes does a lot with student athletes. How do you guys work with big national brands, companies like Walmart and Nike and things like that? So let's start off with, how can the fans and businesses get involved with the athletes through Triumph?
So how we look at it is a three-pronged approach. It's fans, it's businesses, and it's donors, right?
Yep.
But some of the donors is in a mix. It's a mixed bag because they may just want to donate, but they also may have businesses. So sometimes, like I said, they use the 501c3, the Hokie way, to donate and get a charitable. For a charitable reason, but get a discount. It's not a discount. It's called a deduction. And then you have businesses who may have a marketing budget, or who may just want to, if it's a marketing budget, say let's hire an athlete, they may do a commercial for them, and then they compensate the athlete for doing the commercial, right? Then you have fans who just want to be really want to be a part of NIL and be a part of recruiting and excel that mission for Virginia Tech, so that athletes are feeling like, man, I'm going to a place where the fans are really involved. Like, I may have a t-shirt that I want to sell on the Triumph platform. Now I want the fans to show up and, show love, right? So it's a three-pronged approach where those three different entities can be involved in multiple ways. And we have created our platform for them to mainly engage in that space, because those are things that they can receive something from. They're not just throwing money out there and lighting it on fire, as Brenden used to say.
Right.
Okay. So we had on, we're doing a 3-part series. First one, we had on Mark Jefferson. He is an NIL agent. He's out of California, and he has Jefferson Sports Enterprise. He just started it about a year and a half ago. He's got a couple of student athletes where he went to school, Mississippi Valley State and some other schools. So does a person need an NIL agent? And is there value in that? Or is a Virginia Tech student athlete just able to go direct? Because he talked about working with collectives, but can a Virginia Tech student athlete just go directly to you guys?
Let me take this one, or at least to start.
No, go ahead.
So what people need to understand is collectives are trying to work in the best interests of the institution.
Right.
So it makes no sense for a collective to do something to hurt or harm a student athlete, because that would not be in the best interests of the institution, right? Let me just start with that, because people have this idea, or I hear this idea out there a lot, that collectives are predatory or something to that effect, right? Not true. That's counterintuitive to the whole purpose of them being set up. All right. Second thing I'll say, I do recommend that families, can seek their own legal counsel, right? So if they have a lawyer, the agent thing kind of rubs me a little wrong, just because to me, you need a lawyer. If it were me, if it were my son going through the situation, I want a lawyer. I don't need a representative, especially if I'm dealing with someone like Triumph, where they already have the infrastructure to market me and connect me with businesses, blah, right? And in that situation, I just need someone to check the paperwork and maybe look it over twice. But I hope that answers it. In short, our student athletes, in our opinion, the ones when I was there, they don't need a lawyer in theory, because once again, we're doing everything in the best interest of the institution. So why would we put something in that contract that would cause you to be funneled? Or, we've had players who've signed contracts with us, go to another school, transfer out, etc. And it's all love, it's all good. As long as the scope of work and the contract, the terms are met, we're going to do right by you. Because the other thing about this that Kevin alluded to, this is a brotherhood, right? I played there, Kevin played there, we're alum of Virginia Tech. So even outside of football, we don't want to see any of our student athletes, our brothers, our sisters, who've ever put that uniform on for any sport. We never want to do wrong by them. And I can't say that that's the case at other schools or their collectives, but as it relates to Triumph and Virginia Tech, you might as well, if you feel comfortable signing your national letter of intent to go to school at Virginia Tech, then you should feel comfortable signing a Triumph contract, because it's
that's good to know. That helps a lot of people.
Let me piggyback just as small points that I have on that. It's absolutely 100% true what Brenden is saying. And what I don't want people to get from what he just said is that it's all about the institution, because it is about the betterment of the institution, but also the student athlete. Like, we are former student athletes, and we are not, again, collectives. So collectives in other cases, it's like, let's collect money from these donors and we're going to get it to the athletes by any means necessary. We have never envisioned our company, the brand, or anything in that way. It's always been, dang, we play here, play professional. We got lawyers that's friends from Blacksburg. We have other people that's like PR people that's been in the industry that also loves Virginia Tech. How can we promote these athletes in the best way possible? Like, that's where we come. That's our field. We're not coming from, oh, we just so Hokie that no matter what anybody says that we're gonna do, you know what I'm saying? It's not like that. It's a passionate balance between experiences that we've had, the brand that we love, and then the university that we want to also promote, but not at the expense of the.
That's great.
So
we would
sign each of those contracts, you know what I mean? Like ourselves. And just for I know a lot of student athletes and young people and families might see this. A lawyer is going to be a lot less expensive than an agent. I can probably tell you that as it relates to NIL. So an hourly rate for a lawyer to maybe double check something, cross your T's, dot your I's, is going to be a lot cheaper than an agent trying to maybe, tax you, because these NIL deals as it relates to collectives can be very lucrative. And I just, like, to me, I don't want to see these student athletes be taken advantage of by having agents come get involved in the collective process just because they see the dollar figures and different things like that. So if anything, if you need any,
have made it messier than it needs to be honest. I'm not what's the word? Non-pro. I'm not hating. No,
keep it real, Kevin. You're not hating.
Well, I was saying I'm not, and I was trying to figure out the proper term. I'm not anti-agents. Like,
okay.
But when we've have done contracts and we've been working through the process, it's only made it a little bit messier, to be honest.
Okay.
But I'm also not anti-agent.
Okay.
I don't even think Brenden is. I think he's speaking from experience that, like, every time we've gotten in those conversations, it's just astronomical, like crazy stuff, like, asked about. And we're like, wait, where are y'all coming? Where is this coming from? Like, so,
but you can provide the legal assistance needed, contract law, all those things with someone through your collective. So my question is, Livy Dunn, Cavender twins, Shador Sanders, are they going through a collective, I'm sorry for the terminology, or a group that is tied to their university? Is Livy Dunn with an LSU firm, or is there a national thing? How does that work? Because my next question is, somebody coming in, but let me let you guys answer that first. Are they going through companies that are similar to you at LSU and at University of Miami or Fresno State?
So what I'll say is, the way I always describe NIL in the college landscape is it's an ecosystem, right? So no different than in biology class or science class, you have an ecosystem, right? You got predators, you got prey, you got, trees, you got birds, you got bees, you got all these things, right? So in the NIL space, to answer your question, in my opinion, all of those things exist in LSU, Colorado. There's collectives that exist. There's, marketing agents that exist. There's professional sports agents that want to try and get the guy for their NFL deal. So they do an NIL deal with them that exists. Like, there's all types of things that exist in that ecosystem. So in short, yes, there's, but someone like Livy Dunn or, she has such a high profile that national brands are going to reach out to her. And you see a lot of the high profile student athletes signing with actual, like, WME, CAA, Rock Nation, maybe, whatever, like these high profile talent agencies, because their deals are so high profile that they kind of introduce that piece to the ecosystem, right? But the collectives and all those people, even myself, my current role, I work for the institution. I work for San Diego State, right? So I'm not an external partner. When I was with Triumph, I was an external partner, right? So being an internal member of the institution, I'm a part of that ecosystem as well. And some schools, Virginia Tech happened to be one of the schools, like Kevin said, I didn't get fired or anything, right? Because Virginia Tech doesn't have an internal, from what I know, Kevin, maybe they updated it, but they don't have an internal NIL role. So that was one of the reasons that I, look for greener pastures or what have you. But yeah.
And that leads to was going to be my next question. Brenden, tell us, what is a typical day or work week like for you?
Yeah, for me in my current role is managing that ecosystem from a compliance standpoint. So I work in the compliance department. So my job is to kind of inform our collectives, our donors, the business community on what they can't do, and kind of help them navigate the space, because it is so convoluted and messy. But my primary constituent, and this is why I've been able to transition so smoothly, kind of back to Kevin's point about why we started Triumph, is my primary constituent is the student athlete. I work with student athletes every day. I try and help them navigate NIL, but also navigate life. I'm a former student athlete, so when they come to me and they had a bad game, they dropped a pass or whatever, sometimes I don't even talk to them about NIL. I talk to them about life, right? And so I'm a support staff member at San Diego State, and I work with all the student athletes. So 500 student athletes across 17, 18 sports have access to me to help them with their name, image, and likeness, as well as their families and different things like that. But I always tell people I start with the student athletes, and then I work my way, coaches, administrators, donors, business community. I work my way out from the student athlete. But that's what I do every day. So
since you have that title, is that a state of California thing? Because I know there's a lot of state by state. Is that a state of California thing? In second, when is Virginia Tech going to have that?
Kevin may know better than I will, but I think so I'm a part of a national delegation, ironically, of people who are in this role at schools across the country, and it's not a lot of them. It's more at the Power 5 level, but you see a lot of people wearing multiple hats. So somebody might be in charge of compliance, but then they'll wear the NIL hat. There's not a lot of schools that have a dedicated person in the building to manage their NIL. Now, the beauty of what Triumph has been able to do, like I said, this is what set me up for success in my current role, is when I was with Triumph, and currently I'm assuming, right, like we manage that ecosystem as an external partner. Like we reported to the compliance department. We told the donor, we handled our business in a very ethical way. So that's what made it so easy for me to transition into an internal role, is I was already doing that with Triumph in a lot of ways, right? So that Triumph, Virginia Tech is technically getting free labor from Triumph, because they haven't officially hired Triumph, but maybe Witt might see this and decide to do something about it. But yeah. That's
so let me ask you this. The Kirk and Bird show, we blowing up, especially after this episode. All right, we've been out for 2 years. We got over 1,000 subscribers.
I know what you're
saying. We want to take it to the next level. I'm interested in, hey, what if we want Josh Fuga and Caleb Woodson, two Prince William County athletes. We want to get them to promote our brand, and they're local guys.
Yeah,
they're local 15.
Guys. So
what would be my first step? Do I text his mom and be like, yo, let's work this out? Or, or do I reach out to Triumph, or what? How does that work?
Yeah.
You're Triumph athletes, so you reach out to Triumph. It's that's the other cool thing about all of this, that these athletes become Triumph athletes, just like the Jordan of Nike. You know what I'm saying? There's a Jordan for Nike. So we very much looked at it like that from the beginning. So you just reach out to us and talk about what your wants are. We talk about what maybe the kids' needs are, and then we come to some type of middle ground. And it's just a business deal. It's not too convoluted, and it's not too crazy.